So I believe that every company, small or large, needs to know their financials, and they have to know it on the regular basis. Working for Qualcomm, I remember we had to do monthly reporting and then quarterly because it was a publicly traded company, still is. So obviously there are requirements, but a lot of small businesses forget that that's so important for them. They're like, well, I have money in the bank. That means how much money business makes. They don't understand that. And that's our job, to educate them and explaining the importance of knowing the numbers.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, sharing our methods and strategies for success. Join in on our conversations with business owners as we highlight their triumphs and detail how they overcame the challenges they faced while continuing to grow and scale their business. It's time to think life, think success, and think business with your host, Tyler Martin.
Today, we're diving deep into the world of franchising, financial resilience, and leveraging technology with our incredible guest, Max Emma. Stay tuned as Max reveals the lessons learned from navigating bankruptcy, the importance of regular financial reporting, and how AI and automation are shaping the future of bookkeeping. Whether you're scaling a startup or looking for strategic growth tips, this episode is packed with insights you won't want to miss. So let's jump right into our conversation with Max Emma. Hey, Max, welcome to the Think Business with Tyler podcast show. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Hey, before we get into me hitting you with questions, I'd love to learn a little bit about you. What do you do professionally? And then if you could share something personally, that'd be awesome too.
So, of course, professionally, I run several companies ranging from accounting firm providing bookkeeping for small businesses in all 50 states, specializing in bookkeeping for franchises. Then we also sell our own bookkeeping franchises. We're the only bookkeeping franchisor in the United States. And thirdly, most recently, I've added franchise brokerage to the portfolio. So now I'm the CEO of 3 companies. I do have teams helping me with all 3 businesses, but yeah, so my hands are pretty full. And this few minutes a day that I have free between work and sleep, I like to travel. I like live theater, spending time with my kids. We are going on Alaska cruise in a few days, so I'm very excited. And my kids are older, so the fact they still want to hang out with me, it's actually awesome. I'll take it any time of the day. And spending time with my friends. That's what I like to do.
That's awesome. Hey, just to kind of start out this conversation, having multiple different businesses that you do, one, it sounds like you do you have a company that does actual bookkeeping, and then you have a franchise that actually sells or allows people to get into bookkeeping, have their own bookkeeping company. And then it sounds like you're a brokerage for franchises. What drives you? Like, have you always had this entrepreneurial spirit where you always have envisioned yourself having these businesses? And what drives you to have so many? Like, is that just how you're wired, or what are your thoughts around that?
Well, I've started working for corporate America. I've got an education in finance and got a degree and started working for Qualcomm, which at the time was probably the largest employer in San Diego area. I was doing corporate accounting and finance, but something was missing. So I wanted the freedom. I wanted to get out. And actually, July 3rd of 2002, that's my freedom day. That's the last time I got a paycheck from somebody. That's when I left. I just gave him 2-week notice before that and joined the family business, which was landscaping at the time, and grew it from 3 employees to 96. I mean, we probably can talk about later. It was just the beginning of the journey. But the reason I'm adding more business is because whenever I see something is missing, I want to fill this gap. And like, for example, we started doing bookkeeping, and I realized that we are giving people freedom of time, where they can spend this time doing something else, whether it's spending time with the family or working on a business and not in the business. And we're like, okay, we can give other people the same opportunity to run small businesses in their local areas. That's how a franchise was born. Okay. Plus, I was around franchisors for a while, and I'm like, when I grow up, I want to be like them. So that gave me, I don't know if you had a chance to hang out around franchisors, but most of them are really cool people. You really want to be around them. They're welcoming. Even two competing brands, you go to a trade show, you see them at the bar drinking cocktails together and discussing and helping each other. This is one of the few industries I've seen doing it. And I'm like, I want to be in it. So that was my thinking. And the brokerage, as I said, this is only a few months old, but I have an extensive education in franchising, got my certified franchise executive, went to online school to get additional degree to do that. I'm like, I already know a lot about franchising and I'm leaving a lot of it on the table because not everybody is a good match to buy a bookkeeping franchise. Like, if you don't like numbers, then probably bookkeeping franchise is not for you. Okay. But we still can help these people to achieve this freedom. So that's my thinking. It's not that I want to do, 40 businesses at the same time. I'm very strategic of what businesses I start. But whenever I do that, my next line of thought, how I can delegate my responsibilities. Like, I used to be a micromanager. It was pretty bad. I worked on myself, and now I have team of people in every business to help me out.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
I used to be a micromanager. It was pretty bad. I worked on myself, and now I have team of people in every business to help me out.
That's awesome. So I have a lot of questions for you just about the whole franchise thing and how you do your model and stuff like that. But before I do that, because usually I get way ahead of myself, I want to hear your story because you've got a pretty cool story. So you came over from the Soviet Union when you were about 18 years old. I'd love to talk about, like, what caused you, for one, to come over, and then two, I believe you went straight into getting your finance degree at that point, if I have my data correctly. Just what were your thoughts in terms of doing that? Was it your plan to come here, get educated, and then go back to the Soviet Union, or did you always envision building something here?
So I came with my family. I was 18. My older brother already was in the United States. So since he moved 5 years prior to us, that was always the plan that we're going to be moving. It just took a while to get all the documents in order and to make sure we go through the interview. And we came to the United States, which was, an easy journey in terms of, like, we didn't have to wait for Social Security. We didn't have to wait for working visa. We got all of that upon the entry, which that's why it took a while to go through the process. But that was good because I could get a job right away, which I did as soon as I possibly could, because that's what gave me an opportunity to learn English and grow. Because I had English classes for years, but without practice, you do not start speaking. That's my honest opinion. And I had to actually, I don't have much time, but I had to come up with my own strategy how to learn English, because somebody told me the hardest part is to talk on the phone. And when you don't see the person in front of you. So I was actually calling all the credit cards in the United States, literally the 1-800 numbers. And back then, all the call centers were in the United States. So they had to speak with me for 40 minutes, explain to me why I'm not qualified to have credit cards. And I knew that. Okay. But nevertheless, it was 40 minutes of conversation back and forth. As soon as they were done, I would hang up, pick up the phone again, call another company. And I was doing it 3-4 hours a day. And after a few months, I just all of a sudden started speaking English. That was awesome.
Wow, what a novel way to build your skills. I almost feel like it's like the revenge of telemarketing in a way. It's a way of getting even with all the telemarketers. You call them and take up their time. I'm half joking, but that what a novel way of becoming better in English.
Yeah, it was just, my own way, my own know-how, thinking outside of the box. And I didn't even know that I was creating something. I was like, okay, that's a cool idea. I've never heard about it. Why don't I start doing it? And that was probably what was leading all my life. I was looking for an opportunity to make money. In the Soviet Union, of course, it was illegal, being I had to work for somebody and for the government, blah blah blah. But nowadays, obviously, it's different. You can do it, but back when I was growing up, it wasn't the case. So I always had it in me. So.
Wow. So from there, you went into corporate finance. And then from corporate finance, you went to a family business, if I have this correct, into a landscaping business. What was it like to transition into the family business? I think this was probably your first taste as far as like being part of a family owned business.
So I got my finance degree while working at Costco, and that was great opportunity. Also, dealing with a lot of people and working for a big corporation. And then I got an offer from Qualcomm here in San Diego, which Qualcomm was the biggest employer at the time in the city. And I also got an offer from Lehman Brothers on Wall Street. That was before Lehman Brothers went down. It was a very prestigious firm. I decided to stay in San Diego and not go to Wall Street. So I stayed, worked for 4 years, and I'm always joking that I'm very bad at kissing butts. I'm always kissing the wrong one. Okay. So that's why I'm like, I probably need to get out of corporate America. And I gave him 2 week notice and I left. And the opportunity at the time, we had a small family business with 3 employees that was just, like a landscape route to mow grass. That was literally it. And the idea was that maybe I can do something with it and grow it to the next level, which we did. And it went from 3 employees to 96 employees, from 100,000 a year to 4 million a year. But then the problem was I wasn't watching the speed we were growing with. I wasn't looking at my own financials, being a finance guy, and the recession started. They stopped building new homes, so we stopped getting new jobs. But we had 20 crews. I mean, at peak, I had 96 people, but I had a lot of equipment, which we had to pay for. And all of a sudden, the supply of jobs went to zero. And so I didn't have a choice but declare bankruptcy, which was very painful at the time, not only from the financial standpoint, because the last money we had, we used to pay the employees. I remember like giving every guy at the yard last paycheck, hanging literally the key on the shed, and then leaving. I'm like, I don't care what happens after that, like whatever. So it took a while, but we opened the company again just for the landscape maintenance. We're more successful, sold it. And just by accident, we were looking for a bookkeeping firm at a time. And we had a scope of work and got a price from $200 to $2,000 for exactly the same scope of work from about 20 companies. Okay. That was a while back. That was 2011, 2012. We're like, you cannot have the gap like that. I started the company with my then wife, my co-founder, and she has actually master's in accounting. I mean, I only have bachelor in finance, but she has a master's in accounting. We're like, you can't have such a gap. And that's when the idea of bookkeeping started. And we started the company, ran 2 of them at the same time, and then eventually sold the landscape maintenance firm and concentrated 100% on bookkeeping.
Wow. Hey, Max, if you had a do over, so if we went back to 2000, 2008, 2009, is there anything that you could have done different with what you know now in terms of avoiding that bankruptcy? Or was it, I mean, would you have grown slower? Would you have done anything different? Or is it just kind of like, hey, we had this catastrophic event and I got caught in the middle of it?
So without a second of regret, I'll
Yeah.
say what I would do differently. I would know my numbers and
Okay.
I would catch that it's coming way earlier than I did. But I'm not, as I said, regretting, because that was the best MBA I could have gotten. Okay. I learned so much. And, working in a crisis, we had one baby and one on the way, and we just had to make it work. I mean, that's it. Your income goes to literally zero. And then '08, '09 wasn't the fun time. A lot of
Yeah.
people were going through that in different industries. So it wasn't just us, but it didn't make me feel any better because, oh, you're suffering, but other people also suffering. I'm like, okay, how can we get out of this situation? So to be honest with you, Tyler, probably just knowing my numbers and being ready for it. When we were growing that fast, it made sense because we had probably 4 to 5 months of waiting for us to start the job. We were doing backyards and front yards for the track homes. And Southern California was building like crazy. We were doing a good job. So people were actually wanted us to do that, but they didn't want to wait that long because HOA had the requirement, like you had to complete it, let's say, for 60 to 90 days. So it made sense. We got 0% financing. So everything was good. And obviously, I couldn't predict that the crash is going to happen the way it did happen. But if I knew my numbers and I would, slow down and analyze it, then probably the effect would not be as catastrophic. But again, now I'm grateful for what I went through. If it didn't happen to me, it happened for me.
Yeah. It's amazing sometimes how our failures are our biggest opportunity to learn. And, when once we learn from that in our next venture, we apply it and do so much better. It's like you said, it's like an MBA.
100%.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
And I paid a lot more than I would pay in any Ivy League school. Let's
And
say
probably in stress alone, I would think.
yes.
Okay, so then we lead up to now the birth of bookkeeping, and you kind of touched on the price differences was one thing that gave you an epiphany. What gap are you trying to fill here? What gave you the idea in terms of, if you could elaborate on that a little bit more? What gave you the idea to go in this direction, and what have you found so far in terms of getting into the market and the need for it and stuff like that?
So I believe that every company, small or large, needs to know their financials, and they have to know it on the regular basis. Working for Qualcomm, I remember we had to do monthly reporting and then quarterly because it was a publicly traded company, still is. So obviously there are requirements, but a lot of small businesses forget that that's so important for them. They're like, well, I have money in the bank. That means how much money business makes. They don't understand that. And that's our job to educate them and explaining the importance of knowing the numbers. I strongly believe that if you only look at your financials once a year when you do your taxes, that's already too late. A year passed by. There is nothing your CPA can do to go back. And if you learn that you made a mistake, 12 months, it's too late. Even quarterly is a bit late. I think monthly it's the most optimal time to have their financials. We do have some clients that we do work on weekly basis and sometimes twice a week, but there we're talking about bigger businesses, of course.
Okay. And just in terms of who is your target client, what do you define as small business? Is it by revenue or employees, or is there any certain size?
So for me, small business is somebody like I think the definition in the government book of small business is way different because they're comparing small business to like Toyotas of the world.
Right.
For me, small business is probably 0 to 20 employees and pre-revenue to 10, $15 million in the revenue. Even though we do have bigger clients, that would be the typical number of clients. Because if you go into 20, 30, 40 employees, there is a huge chance you need somebody in-house because then the same person is doing payroll, same person is doing HR, and so on and so forth. But, I would say it's optimal 0 to 20 employees.
Now, as far as your solution, do you use an already made type software program, maybe like a QuickBooks, or do you guys, there's a lot of these emerging firms that are creating their own back end. What's kind of your model? What do you guys do?
So both. We have our own backend called BooksDesk, but it's an internal CRM and client management system that helping us to run the bookkeeping business. We created it and decided at some point to sell it to other bookkeeping firms, but now it's only available for our franchisees and our employees. So we do not sell it externally. This is actually one of the benefits to buy a franchise from us. We also use AI, and I know it's the word people sometimes just overuse, but we actually do use it and we are working it all the time. And now our staff can do more work because now they're capable to work on more clients because the artificial intelligence is doing part of the work. Okay, and we're working on phase two, so it's going to go even further. But we do use existing accounting softwares, mostly QuickBooks. We're actually a national partner of Intuit. We manage about 2 to 3 thousand subscriptions, and this number grows all the time. We also work with Zero, NetSuite, Sage, but I would say 95% of the clients, and we work with accounting suites, for example, but 95% of the clients are with QuickBooks, mostly with QuickBooks Online. And actually, about 95% of the market is owned by QuickBooks Online, on a small business. So that's why we're just exactly where the market is.
If you're a business owner feeling stuck in your business, overwhelmed, responsible for everything that happens, and working long hours, Tyler helps his clients develop processes, hire high-performing team members, and better understand their financial metrics and numbers to allow for a more predictable, less hands-on business. To schedule a free, no-pressure consultation, head to thinktyler.com and click the meeting button. Tyler would love to see if he can help you work on your business, not in your business. Schedule a consultation today at thinktyler.com. Think life, think success, think business.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
How long have these meal kits been in my fridge? 1 week? 2? How much am I spending on these? Hey, Erica, did my subscription go up?
When your questions about life turn into questions about money, there's Erica, the virtual financial assistant to help you spend, save, and plan smarter. Only from Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC.
95% of the market is owned by QuickBooks Online, on a small business. So that's why we're just exactly where the market is.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to ask you about AI. There are some school of thoughts that will say, hey, bookkeeping is going to go away. AI is going to take it over and do all the heavy lifting. It sounds like you're using it to augment bookkeeping right now. What are your thoughts in terms of long term? Does it have some industry? Is there some concern around the industry potentially being overtaken by AI, or is it always going to be a tool that you believe that augments getting bookkeeping done?
Look, if you compare QuickBooks Online today and QuickBooks Online 5 years ago, they're two different, softwares, because now it's way faster. It can do way more in less time. And what I see some of my competition, they don't embrace it. They're like, okay, fine. Now it's actually take us 25% of the time, but we're still going to build the same, or maybe we're going to build more, and our profit's going to go up. I like making money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we're all in business ultimately to make money. If you're not, unless you're a nonprofit, come and talk to me. I'll, see if I can make sense into you. But the idea is that if we can do more clients at the same, 3 hours period than we could before, I'd say go for it. So we'd rather keep the prices down, maybe even lower them, and get more clients, and just to get a bigger market share. So I do not believe that the AI will take over in the near future. I mean, 40, 50 years, probably, but not in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Will it be faster? Will it speed it up? Absolutely. But you will still need human. I mean, even now, we give our clients, we send them financials, and they can communicate by email, text, whatever, ask questions. Mostly everybody wants a call with one of my account managers. And I have to tell you, I don't listen in, but we talk all the time and people report to me. A lot of the time they talk about, their business, their work, their kids. I'm like, okay, I have to kind of make sure it doesn't go into 6-hour conversation, because nobody's paying, us for that. I'm sure the staff wouldn't mind talking about the kids of the clients, but I do. In a little bit. But the jokes aside, they still want a human touch. They still want to talk to the live person. I mean, you can go and do taxes yourself. There are a lot of softwares, but yet people go and use CPAs.
Yeah. What do you find? A lot of the bookkeeping and accounting firms nowadays are niching out. You'll see, they're specialists in wellness or specialists in mental health, and that's all they do. Do you find that is any type of threat to your business? Since I believe you're more of a generalist, do you find that hard to compete with, or is it really not anything you rub against?
So On a big level, I think we have a niche because
Okay.
we do bookkeeping mostly for franchises, for franchise brands. We
Ah,
are a preferred bookkeeping provider for 95 franchise brands, and the number is growing. Fast Signs, Signorama, Sport Clips. There's just the big names that are in all 50 states. There are other big companies. There are small emerging but selling 100 units in 2 months. Now, all these franchises are in different lines of business. But the way we look at it, it's a niche because it's a franchise niche, okay? But I always joke that we do not discriminate. If we get a law office, obviously it's not a franchise. We know how to do bookkeeping. We
sure.
know how to work with their client trust account. So we'll take it. I believe niche is great, but bookkeeping is bookkeeping. Debit is always on the left, credit is always on the right.
Right. Right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yeah. So, how does that work exactly? So, does the franchisor basically recommend to the franchisee to work with you, or is it even are you even more involved in that, where they just assign the franchisees to work with you, or how does that work?
It's both.
Okay.
Mostly, we come as the recommended or preferred bookkeeping provider, where we use the same chart of accounts. We are trained on their point of sale system, their CRM system, and all the prices are pre-negotiated with the franchisor. So that's how it works. But in some cases, they actually make it mandatory. Hey, for the first 6 months, a year, you have to work with bookkeeping. A lot of those franchises have to buy QuickBooks through us, and we provide a large discount. So it's actually there is a benefit for them to buy through us versus going directly to the QuickBooks Online because they don't offer the specials on their website, what we can do for the clients. But it's usually both. We actually use this as the source of clients for our franchisees. Now, the franchisees do get clients from us, but let's say we have somebody in Orlando. We do send her clients of those franchises if they open in her area, but she is more than welcome to get any clients outside of the franchise world. So, as far as she's concerned, she is a small business. I have one franchisee, and she's planning to specialize in restaurants because she likes doing them and she wants to go for restaurant market, and she is in Dallas area. I'm like, go for it. So this is the beauty of buying a franchise. We don't tell everybody what to do because everybody's different. Everybody likes their own, thing. So we let people go where they want to go. We kind of course, guide them. That's part of our job as a franchisor.
Cool. That's interesting, actually. That it sounds like you've got some cool strategic relationships with some of the franchises around the United States. I mean, in terms of giving you that opportunity, can't beat that.
Yeah, it's true. We are one of the largest, not in terms of number of clients. There are other large bookkeeping, but number of brands we work with. We're definitely one of the largest. And Tyler, as I mentioned before, I attribute the idea of opening a franchise to those franchisors, being at their conferences, be at their conventions, listening, talking to people. I'm like, I want to be like them when I grow up, and that's why we started the franchise to begin with.
And now I want to go into that. Like, okay, so let's say someone's thinking about getting into bookkeeping. What's a profile going to look like? Are they already going to be a bookkeeper, or are you guys helping them to become a bookkeeper? What does that look like?
So we have 10 franchisees right now, and actually majority of them came in the last 5 or 6 months. So the number is growing, which I'm very excited about. Obviously, the more we get, the more people trust us. We're right now the only bookkeeping franchise in the United States. The other brands offer taxes and bookkeeping. We only do bookkeeping because we get a lot of referrals from strategic relationship with CPA firms. And my opinion that CPA firms will not be sending work to somebody who already providing tax services. That's just what I think. That's why while I own the company, we will not be doing any tax work. Okay. So out of this 10, we have people who are actually a CPA firm that wanted to outsource bookkeeping and they couldn't find the way to do it because we do provide them not only clients, but also staff to do the work if they wish to do so. So it's like a full turnkey model. So we have a CPA firm that can probably teach us how to do accounting because they've been doing it for years. We have professional bookkeepers who had a ceiling and they know how to sell. And part of the training is selling, business development, executive coaching. That's what we provide. So they actually went and bought it, and they 5 or 6x their revenue in the first 5 months being with bookkeeping, and they had accounting degrees. Okay, but we also get people coming from corporate America that were doing finance like me, but we're not accountants. So we put them through accounting school and we teach them. So to answer your question, no, they don't have to be existing bookkeepers. But look, if somebody is a history major, and I can say that because I'm a history minor, so, and they've never seen a financial statement in their life, I probably would say, maybe let me show you the other 600 franchises that I can help you to buy. Okay. And my services, by the way, is free when we do that as a broker, because we're getting paid 100% by a franchisor upon succession. Okay. So it doesn't cost anything. So I just can help guide them. And if they don't buy, they don't buy. I'm just, spend my time and, let's call it donating my time to a good cause.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think keeping bookkeeping and tax separate is a big benefit to the client. What I usually see when a firm tries to do both, I usually see a lack of quality. I look at a lot of financial statements, I look at a lot of clients, and usually the clients that have the poorest work are the firms that do both. And I think it's just because they don't self audit and they don't, they're just trying to get the bookkeeping done, and then maybe it's a different department that's doing the tax return, but they're just kind of cranking it out. Sometimes the tax returns don't even match to the bookkeeping. And I think creating that independence really helps. What are your thoughts around that?
Well, I mean, I totally agree with you, but I think it's actually more than that. The tax firms, they make more money on taxes per hour and total as they make on bookkeeping. That's given. They have to have bookkeeping to get, to taxes. So what they do when tax season comes, they're like all aboard. They just pull people from bookkeeping departments, and everybody's rushing to work on tax returns because it's crazy around tax firms. Before April 15th, just don't even try to call them. They're completely booked. And then September, October is a little bit crazy as well. And then guess what? They have to go and do the catch up on bookkeeping. They already missed 2 or 3 months. So it's not only that the people are not doing the job. Sometimes they can't because they work on other projects. So I totally agree with you. I think it should stay separately. And also I've seen in some cases, CPA firms double and triple charging for the bookkeeping because they're charging their rates. We're like, hey, the same people who are doing taxes are doing bookkeeping, so our rate is $150 an hour. Okay,
Yeah.
when you probably can get it done for half of the price.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point. I think that because of the seasonality of taxes, there's definitely you get not only is your data behind, which is another, a topic you talk about having timely financial statement when you went bankrupt, it might have changed your situation of having that awareness. Well, if you're getting your financial information from a firm that's in the middle of tax season and they're 3 months behind because they're focusing on taxes, the data is really useless by the time you get it, if it's late. So that's even another thing to actually consider.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you get missed payments from clients, sometimes you go 3 4 months finding out that by mistake you forgot to bill the client for 4 months, and then you send him a huge bill and client is not very happy about it, and you have to settle on a payment which is less that you would get otherwise. And it could be a simple clerk mistake, but this mistake can cost you a lot of money.
Yeah. So, a couple more questions. Entry into becoming a bookkeeper is pretty easy. I mean, I think it's why we see so many bookkeepers. What do you feel and I would imagine it's one of the reasons there aren't a lot. You're one of the only, or you are the only bookkeeping franchise. And I wonder if it's because the entry into the market's pretty easy. How do you guys differentiate, or what do you think you offer that someone would say, hey, I could just open up my own shingle? Why get into a franchise? What's the benefit of that?
Not only with bookkeeping, but for example, pizza franchise. Can you learn how to make pizza? Absolutely. And your pizza probably going to be better than a lot of national chains without naming names. Okay. But you have to go through a lot of trial and errors to find out how much, ingredients to use, what ingredients before you get to the perfect, pizza, before you can scale it. That's why people go into franchising. Okay. Same goes with bookkeeping. Can somebody open their own shingle? Absolutely. Let's be honest. QuickBooks is designed for non accountants, but data entry, anybody can learn it. Okay. And there are a lot of classes, there are YouTube videos. So you can learn that, but analyzing it and making sure the balance sheet ties to income statement. A lot of people thinking if they enter the expenses, they're done with the financials. They're not. Okay. Because they still don't know how much money they owe to somebody, how much money owed to them, and how it's related when the money coming in. So all of that has to be taken into consideration. And again, a lot of P&L putting stuff in the buckets can be done by AI, and that's what we're doing. But this last piece, so beginning and the end for now has to be done by humans. Okay, coming back to your AI question. All right, the middle, most of it can be done by AI, but right now I can tell you we're spending a lot of time building this robot because it's just you have to tell the robot what to do and how to do it. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the robot is not that smart. It's not going to just take it and do it. And the robot is built just for us. We're going to let our franchisees using it, but it's not like a standard, QuickBooks thing that's going to speed up the process because trust me, Intuit putting a lot of money in AI and they actually already, as I mentioned, speed up a lot of their processes.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then you guys also do international clients, is that correct?
No, we actually only do clients in the United. We have international clients who own businesses in the United States, and we take them. We do have international offices, and
Ah,
that's because at some point we just I realized that I can't grow fast enough because of lack of employees. I mean, we had an office. We actually were buying bookkeeping practices before we went into franchising, and we had one in the East Bay, San Francisco area, in your neck of the woods, actually. And we had an employee there. So we bought an office, we had clients, and we had an employee. And then one of the corporate companies, I think it was Google, but one of the large one, they I want to say tripled her salary and they took her, in accounting department. She didn't have an accounting degree. And when she came and told me, Max, I'm going, that's how much they're going to pay. I said, good luck. Thank you for giving me 2 weeks notice because there is no way we could match it. But for them, this extra 50 grand wasn't, something that to even worry about. They need the person right away. So that's why we now have offices also outside of the United States. But everybody who works there, they're all bookkeeping employees.
got it. Okay. Ah, very fascinating. Now I have down to two questions. I want to talk about resiliency. You've obviously had your ups and downs. Any words of wisdom in terms of, what's allowed you to be resilient? Like, I mean, I imagine 2008, 2009 was one of your low points. I mean, I think you said you had two kids or one kid on the way, one kid there and one kid on the way. I mean, a lot of pressure there and your business is all of a sudden changing overnight. Any words of wisdom around resiliency and what we can do to look at the bigger picture?
I know people say that all the time, but it really does work for me anyway. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And, you learn from your mistakes. I mean, at least I'm trying to do that. The biggest thing that helped me to change the focus that it did not happen to me, it happened for me. Okay. When I realized that, it just changed the whole perspective because before, like, why is it happening to me? Why? What did I do? Why I'm losing this money? Why this is happening? No, that was a great lesson. Thank you. How can I learn from it? How can I move to the next level? So that's what I recommend. I mean, future is bright. Just, and it's totally fine if one business is not working for you. There is nothing wrong with that. Just, learn from it and like, okay, how can I use this knowledge into opening another business? And sometimes it does happen. I mean, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I know most of the entrepreneurs, they went through many businesses that were closed before they became successful. Okay. So it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Don't be ashamed of it. It's totally fine. Learn from it, take a pause, and open the business. And maybe it's going to be completely different industry, but it's going to be more successful and more successful. And then you're going to get where you want to get. Okay. And by the way, know where you want to go because if you don't, who knows where you're going to end up.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
And by the way, know where you want to go, because if you don't, who knows where you're going to end up.
Yeah. Reminds me, many, many years ago, I used to have a CPA practice. I had a client come to me and he had something like 5 or 6 failed businesses and he was starting a new business. I couldn't help but think as he sat down to me and he's going through the 6 failures that he had, I'm like, man, what's different? What's going to be different this time? And a year later, he had a $60 million company. Like 3 years later, he had a $100 million company, and the company bought him out for a very good multiple. And so it just goes to show you, to your point, like that resiliency and that kind of not letting failures and the steps to getting there stop you can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. And also what I learned a lot is delegate. Don't try to
Yeah,
do
that's a
it
good one.
yourself. I was a really, really bad micromanager. My co-founder, and that's actually also, even though we're not married anymore, we're still in business together, and we're still, good friends, which, it does happen sometimes, in life. And I can tell you that our kids definitely appreciate that, that there is no fighting, and we do the business together. But okay, I lost my.
Yeah, we were talking about delegating. You were getting
Oh,
into like the
delegating,
power of
yeah, and
delegate.
and
Yeah.
and, and Elena was like, you know, on me, like, you have to give it up. I'm like, no, 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 I can do better than anybody. And I was just doing it myself. I was working long hours, and then I learned to just delegate and just let it go. I'm still learning. I'm still not perfect. But as soon as I realized that, I got an executive assistant. And now she's doing 60 or 70% of the admin work that I had to do myself, which opened me up to do more business development selling. Now I'm adding business development people that will open me up to work on a strategy. And only doing that will take you to the next level. Okay. So definitely delegation is the way to grow.
Yeah, that's a great tip. That's a good way to end this. Hey, I'll put this in the show notes at thinktyler.com, Max. Your website is books with an X, BOOX, keeping franchise.com. That's one URL. Then you also have another URL, franchisewithmax.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Franchise with Max, you can pretty much just go there, and it'll give you a choice if you want us to talk about buying a franchise, buying a bookkeeping franchise, or bookkeeping service. So it will actually take you to all the 3 sites. So just remember one, Franchise with Max. You still end up talking to me, whether you like it or not, and have to deal with my Russian accent. But nevertheless, that's the only site that people have to remember, franchisewithmax.com.
Okay, awesome. Hey, Max, you're an awesome guest. I appreciate you being on the show and sharing your not only your story, but your wisdom. So thanks a lot. Look forward to maybe talking to you again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, Tyler.
Thank you. Take care.
That's all for this episode of Think Business with Tyler. But we have plenty more resources to help you in your pursuit of business excellence on our website at thinktyler.com. If you'd like to be featured in a future episode of the show, feel free to reach out to us on social media at think_Tyler. We look forward to helping you think life, think success, and think business.
Electricast.